This is A Night at the Opera. This is the fourth album by Queen. It was released in 1975 and it also contains one of their biggest hits and most famous song, Bohemian Rhapsody. Night at the Opera is probably Queen's creative masterpiece. It's the kind of artistic peak, really. The album that they were destined to make. Queen 1 was a pretty straightforward affair with Queen's unique sound. Queen 2 was a kind of a concept album which was a bit dark and a bit mysterious, but it's also a great achievement. Sheer Heart Attack is a fantastic album which shows a variation of material. I think it was their make or break without a doubt, and then Night at the Opera is a pretty incredible album all the same, with very strong material and some superb playing on it. This is the 2015 half-speed mastered pressing. It's 180 grams, heavyweight and black vinyl. Produced by Roy Thomas Baker and Queen. Executive engineer Mike Stone. All titles composed, arranged and performed exclusively by Queen. And you've got the track listing for side 1 and side 2. Gatefold like the original with the lyrics. Recorded at SARM, Roundhouse, Olympic, Rockfield, Scorpio, Trident and Lansdowne. Mixed at SARM. No synthesizers. Original sound recordings made by Queen in 1974, 1975. So the cast: Freddie Mercury vocals, Backstein debauchery, and more vocals. Brian May guitars and orchestral backdrops. Roger Taylor percussion, John Deacon electric bass. All these pressings offer the inner sleeve, just like this, and it is an inner sleeve, but the actual vinyl itself comes in a paper bag with a poly line on it, so it does protect from the usual packaging that you get with most vinyl LPs. The inner bag, just some live photographs, possibly from the Rainbow maybe in 74. Not 100% sure. Another live shot here, and down in the bottom left you have this vinyl album has been meticulously recreated using the finest technology from the original first generation master mixers. As far as I know, Bob Ludwig at Gateway Mastering Studios, Portland, took digital files and then they were cut, and that's just the way these have been. Half-speed vinyl mastering by Miles Showell at Abbey Road Studios. Some people like his stuff, some people don't. I find that the half-speed, I have all the original Queen albums, I have them a few times actually. I find that the half-speed masters are quite boomy, and a lot of people say that they lack dynamics and they're dead and compressed. I think it's more to do with the half-speed for certain things. I think Queen's albums from the 80s sound actually good like this, and I think some of the details are lost on the 70s albums. I find with these you have to back the bass off and crank up the treble and then turn it up loud, you know. They're just a different type of pressing, you know. They're not for everybody, I'd say. Side 1 itself kicks off with Death on Two Legs, dedicated to, and I have a fair idea that it is Norman Sheffield. You can read up about that. Most Queen fans know anyway. It's a great intro. The piano just rolls and rolls. It's quite mysterious. I remember the first time I ever heard it in 1985 on my Walkman. I went out and bought it on cassette in 1985 in the summer, and I came home from my shopping excursion and I was lying on my bed and I remember hearing the opening notes of A Night at the Opera, Death on Two Legs. It is just a fantastic opening. The piano is like it's cascading down like a waterfall. And you got Brian May's extremely angry guitar. Yeah, it's a fantastic opening. Great track, great solo on it as well. Yeah, it's kind of almost, it shifts gears as well, almost like a car. It's a great track. Then that's followed by Lazing on a Sunday Afternoon. It's a little bit like the Beatles or the Kinks. You know, very quick track. Nice track as well. Both of those songs are written by Mercury. Then we have I'm in Love with My Car. That's another great Queen track. It's sung by Roger Taylor, and it was written by him. It was the B-side of Bohemian Rhapsody. Dedicated to John Harris, who was one of their equipment managers as far as I know. Then you have You're My Best Friend. That was a Deacon composition and a hit as well from this album. Great catchy Motown flavoured song. Then we have 39. That's Brian May's kind of acoustic stomp. It's fantastic. It features John Deacon on double bass as well. Brilliant song, really good. And then we've got Sweet Lady. This reminds me of the Stones a little bit. Great riff, really powerful guitar by May on it. Yeah, it's one of his good kind of bluesy rockers. Not the best song he's ever written. You know, it's not nowhere near as good as Now I'm Here, but it's still. I just like the guitar in it. You know what I mean? The lyrics don't really mean much, but it's still, you know, great drum sound on it and great guitars. Yeah. Speeds up at the end, it's pretty cool. It kind of runs away. And then Seaside Rendezvous. Seaside Rendezvous is kind of gone back to the turn of the 20th century, I guess. And it's very funny. Again, I could imagine something like that being on Sgt. Pepper's by the Beatles. And it's amusing, put it that way, but there's a jazz orchestra on it, and it's all courtesy of Roger Taylor making mouth trumpet and trombone noises into a microphone. So everything on A Night at the Opera is made by the band, you know, most of the sounds and stuff, and it's incredible, you know, it really is. Side 2 eerily creeps in with The Prophet Song. That's a Brian May composition, and I think it's more rewarding than Bohemian Rhapsody in some ways. I think there was talk that it was going to be the single and not Bohemian Rhapsody. How different things would have been. I couldn't ever imagine this getting to number 1, but it's still a brilliant song. There's a brilliant a cappella piece in the middle where Mercury is singing, and it's repeated through tape echoes and loops and stuff like that. Some really heavy Queen on this. It's one of my favourite Queen songs. It's quite frightening as well. It's about the end of the world and stuff like that. Probably the best song Brian May has ever written. As a kind of a progressive song, Now I'm Here is one of his best, we'll say, singles, but The Prophet Song is fantastic. Then that kind of segues into Love of My Life, which is a Mercury ballad, and that's one of the most beautiful love songs you're ever going to hear. And yeah, it's got some nice Japanese toy kyoto on it, which is a kind of a stringed instrument like a harp and stuff. Then Good Company, it's another May track, and that's again another kind of banjo driven song, which is kind of good company about a man who works all his life hard, and then eventually he ends up on his own. His wife leaves him because he becomes a workaholic, and he doesn't really notice life passing him by because he's working all the time. And yeah, there's a lesson to be taken from it. It's quite good. And then of course you've got Bohemian Rhapsody, and there's nothing really to say about that except that it's probably one of the most brilliant singles ever released, and it's an incredible composition by Freddie Mercury. It's insane. Only he could have written that. And then the album ends up with God Save the Queen, traditional arrangement by May. So yeah, they used to end all their concerts with this. So yeah, that's it. That's the lineup for A Night at the Opera. So that's A Night at the Opera. Possibly Queen's greatest artistic achievement. It's not a concept album by any means, but it is. I think the concept here is that it's entertaining. When you put it on, you do feel that you're in front of some special type of show. You know, it just has that, you know, it's like a music box, you know. You open it up, you wind up the handle, and it does something, you know. It's, yeah, A Night at the Opera. You know, it's got a play on stage. Reminds me of the good old days, that program, you know. And of course, the following year they released A Day at the Races, so that was a kind of a companion. I think there was talk at one stage that it was actually going to be a double album, Night at the Opera, Day at the Races. Well, if it was, it would be probably one of the best double albums of all time, but I'm kind of glad it isn't, because they're kind of companion pieces in a way. I do really like A Day at the Races as well, and I think if they were all meshed in together as one, it could have had a different running order, and it probably definitely would have diluted the album itself. You know, A Night at the Opera obviously wouldn't have been released, but it would have diluted the whole idea. It's got more impact like this, you know, and best listen to it the way it is. So yeah, it's a fantastic album, and if you're new to Queen and you want to explore their 70s output, I think you can't go wrong by buying this. And, you know, like I said, it's very entertaining. It's easy to listen to as well, you know, there's nothing on it that's gonna, you know, it's just fantastic, great melodies, fantastic vocals, great guitars, great compositions, amazing arrangements. So yeah, that's it. That's A Night at the Opera. Thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe, and take care.